The illusion of ownership. Take a slow, mindful breath with me. Now gently look around, at the room you're sitting in, the objects you've carefully chosen, the memories playing softly in your mind. You might feel, as most of us do, that all of this belongs to you. Your home, your car, your savings, your name, your history, even the person you believe yourself to be. But let me ask you something. What does it actually mean to own something? Have you ever really stopped to question it? From the time we're children, we're taught the language of possession. My toy, my dream, my body, my life. It feels comforting, grounding even, like putting a fence around chaos. We try to build security by naming things as ours. But the wisdom of Buddhism invites us to look deeper. It gently challenges this belief we rarely question. Is anything truly ours? Start with the most personal thing of all, your own body. You didn't choose your height, your skin tone, or the rhythm of your heartbeat. You didn't decide how quickly your hair grays or your joints ache with time. And no matter how much money you spend, no matter how carefully you eat or exercise, your body still ages, still changes beyond your will. So, if your own body won't fully obey you, can you really say it belongs to you? Let's go deeper. What about your thoughts? Surely those are yours, right? Try sitting in silence for a few minutes. Just observe your mind. You'll notice that thoughts appear out of nowhere, some joyful, some painful, many random. And they leave just as quickly. You didn't summon them. You don't even know what your next thought will be until it shows up. And yet, we cling to them. This is my opinion. This is how I am. We attach ourselves to beliefs, identities, and memories as if they were solid, as if they define who we are. But can something that arises and disappears so easily truly be yours? This may sound unsettling at first, and that's okay. It's normal to feel a little resistance. After all, much of our modern lives revolve around ownership. We measure success by how much we have, how many titles we hold, how much we can control. But here's the quiet truth. The more we try to hold on, the more we suffer. The more we cling to what we believe is ours, the more fragile and anxious we become. Why? Because deep down, a part of us knows. Nothing lasts. Nothing stays. That house you're living in, one day it'll belong to someone else. That job title you worked so hard for, it'll eventually fade from your resume and your memory. Even the people you love and the body you inhabit, none of it can be held on to forever. This isn't meant to make us feel hopeless. Actually, it's the opposite. There's a kind of peace that arises when we stop pretending we're in control of what's never been ours to keep. A freedom that comes from loosening the grip, from opening our hands, from learning how to care deeply without needing to possess. Imagine what your life might feel like if you didn't have to carry the burden of owning, of defending, of clinging. Imagine loving someone just to love them. Not to keep them, not to fix them, just to be fully present with them in this moment. So as we begin this journey together, I invite you to gently reflect on this simple but powerful question. What if nothing belongs to me? Not as a rejection of life, but as a gateway to seeing it more clearly, more freely, more truthfully. Because maybe, just maybe, it's in letting go that we finally learn how to hold life with grace. Part 1. The Cost of Clinging. Let's take another slow breath together. Now imagine this. You're holding a glass of water. At first, it feels light, easy to manage. But hold it out for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour. Your arm starts to shake. It aches. It's not the weight of the water that exhausts you. It's how long you've been holding on. That's exactly what happens when we cling to things, to people, to the past, to who we think we are. The truth is, clinging feels natural. We don't even realize we're doing it. It's wired into our nervous system, baked into our culture, and reinforced every time we hear phrases like, "Fight for what's yours," "Hold on to what matters," "Never let go." But what if this natural habit is also what causes so much of our suffering? Let's look at relationships. When we cling too tightly to someone, we stop seeing them as they are and start seeing them as something we might lose. So we try to control them. We check their messages. We read into every word. We expect them to act in ways that protect our fear rather than nourish real love. And over time, the very closeness we wanted turns into distance, frustration, even heartbreak. The same happens with our achievements. You might get the promotion you've worked years for. At first, it feels incredible. But soon, the joy fades and anxiety creeps in. What if I can't keep it? What if I fail now that I've reached this level? The victory that once felt fulfilling becomes a weight. Not because of the success itself, but because you're clinging to it, afraid to let it evolve. Even the smallest objects can carry surprising tension. Ever lost a favorite pen? It's just plastic and ink, yet it stings. Because it wasn't just a pen anymore, it became a part of your story, a symbol your mind had quietly fused with your identity. There's actually a scientific reason for this. When we feel we own something, whether it's a sweater, a phone, or even an idea, our brain releases dopamine. It's a chemical that gives us pleasure, security, a sense of reward. That's why even things of little value, a keychain, a coffee mug, a pair of old shoes, can become emotionally charged. And this explains something deeper. The mind doesn't just see things, it attaches meaning to them. It believes that by clinging tightly, we can make them last. That maybe, just maybe, we can stop change from taking what we love. But have you ever noticed? The tighter we hold on, the more fragile everything starts to feel. Relationships feel suffocating. Success feels stressful. Even everyday life starts to feel like a balancing act, always afraid of losing what we're trying so hard to keep. Clinging turns joy into anxiety. It turns freedom into fear. And here's the hardest part. Most of this happens unconsciously. We don't realize how much pressure we're putting on ourselves or others just by trying to keep things the same. It's like standing on the shore, trying to hold back the ocean with your bare hands. No matter how hard you try, the tide still comes and goes. So what can we do? First, we can start by noticing, by becoming aware of when our grip tightens, when we feel that sense of "I can't lose this" creeping in. Ask yourself gently, am I holding this, or is it holding me? Is my love rooted in presence or in fear of loss? Second, we can practice softening that grip, not by giving up what we care about, but by relating to it differently. You can still love deeply, work passionately, and enjoy what you have, but from a place of openness, not ownership, from trust, not control. This is not about detachment in the cold, emotionless sense. It's about spaciousness, about leaving room for life to breathe and change. Because that's what life does. It moves, it shifts, it evolves. And the more we fight that, the more we suffer. So maybe the next time you feel that familiar ache, that fear of loss, of change, of uncertainty, pause. Take a breath. And remember, it's not the thing that's weighing you down. It's how tightly you're holding it. And maybe, just maybe, it's safe to begin letting go. Part 2. The Monkey and the Jar. A lesson in letting go. Let me share a story with you. A simple one, maybe even something you've heard before, but like many ancient parables, its wisdom lingers longer than its words. In parts of South Asia, hunters once used a clever method to catch monkeys. They would place a few nuts or pieces of fruit inside a narrow-necked jar. The jar was anchored to the ground, immovable. Now here's where it gets interesting. The opening of the jar was just wide enough for a monkey to slip its hand in, but too narrow to pull it out while gripping a fistful of food. So what happens? The monkey reaches in, it grabs the treat, and it refuses to let go. The monkey doesn't understand that its hand is trapped only because it won't release what it's holding. It could be free at any moment. All it has to do is let go. But it doesn't, and so it remains stuck, panicked, vulnerable, not because of the jar, but because of the grasp. Now, how different are we really? We may laugh at the monkey's simplicity, but how often do we find ourselves in the exact same situation? We hold on to things, relationships, memories, plans, identities, convinced we can't be safe or happy without them. We cling not because we truly need them, but because we're afraid of what letting go might mean. And just like that monkey, we stay stuck. Ask yourself honestly, what is your jar? What are you holding so tightly that it's costing you your peace, your freedom, your breath? It could be the need for approval, the dream that didn't turn out the way you hoped, the belief that you have to be a certain way, strong, successful, in control, to be worthy. Or maybe it's a relationship where love has turned into fear, where the line between caring and controlling has quietly blurred. This is where the confusion often begins. We tell ourselves, I hold on because I love. But there's a difference between loving someone and trying to possess them. There's a difference between feeling safe and needing to control everything to feel safe. Real love doesn't need a closed fist. It opens the hand and says, you are free, and I will love you without needing to own you. But that kind of love requires a deep trust, a trust in life's impermanence, in the natural coming and going of things. We often fear that if we let go, we'll lose something essential. But here's the paradox. The more tightly we cling, the more likely we are to destroy the very thing we're trying to protect. Think of a parent who controls every move their child makes out of love. The child doesn't feel loved, they feel smothered. Think of a partner who demands constant reassurance and attention. The love that once felt light now feels heavy. And it's not just with people. It's also with how we see ourselves. We grip old versions of our identity. I'm strong. I'm independent. I'm always the one who helps others. And slowly, that grip becomes a prison. We lose the ability to evolve, to rest, to ask for help. So, again, I ask you, what are you gripping that no longer serves you? What could shift in your life if you opened your hand? Letting go isn't about loss. It's about choosing presence over control. It's about releasing what weighs you down so you can return to what's real, what's alive, what's here. It's about realizing you were never trapped, only holding too tightly. The Buddha once taught that freedom doesn't come from gaining more, but from needing less, from seeing clearly, from loosening the mind's grip on everything it thinks it must possess to be okay. So, maybe freedom isn't far away. Maybe it's just one breath, one softened hand, one courageous release away. And maybe, like the monkey, we're already free, if we choose to be. Part 3. The Fear of Loss and the Illusion of Control. Let's pause for a moment and take a deep breath together. Now, think about something in your life that you treasure. Maybe it's a gift from someone you love. Maybe it's your home, your reputation, or even just a beautiful watch you saved up to buy. When we first receive something precious, it often brings a genuine sense of joy. We admire it. We feel proud. It feels like a reflection of who we are, an extension of ourselves. But slowly, something shifts. We stop enjoying it freely and start guarding it tightly. We check to see if it's still there. We grow anxious when it's out of sight. And we worry, not just about losing the object, but about losing a part of ourselves with it. Let's take the example of someone who buys a luxurious watch. At first, it sparkles with excitement. It feels like a reward. But soon, that joy becomes something else. Fear of scratching it, of forgetting where they left it, of someone stealing it. And before they know it, the pleasure has turned into pressure. It's strange, isn't it? How the very thing that once made us feel secure can become a source of constant stress. Modern science helps us understand this. When we lose something we value, especially something we believe is ours, the brain reacts. Neuroscientific studies show that the brain registers loss in the same regions that process physical pain. That's why even misplacing something small, like a favorite pen or an old photograph, can hurt more than we expect. But why does it hurt so much? Because deep down, we think we are what we own. Our belongings aren't just things, we attach meaning to them. We believe they reflect our worth, our identity, our success. And when those things are threatened or lost, it feels like we are being threatened or lost. This is where ancient wisdom becomes deeply relevant. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "You may control your thoughts and actions, but everything else, your possessions, your reputation, even your body, lies beyond your grasp." Buddhist teachings echo the same truth. You can't control what comes and goes, but you can choose how you relate to it. And this choice, this shift in perspective, can change everything. Imagine standing on the beach, building a sandcastle. You pour your heart into it. You shape every detail. It's beautiful. But you also know the tide will come. Now, you could spend your energy building walls around it, trying to hold back the waves, yelling at the ocean to stop. Or you could stand in quiet awe, knowing its beauty doesn't depend on how long it lasts. You could love it fully and still let it go. This doesn't mean we shouldn't care about the things and people in our lives. Quite the opposite. It means we care more wisely. We love with open hands. We appreciate without clinging. And we stop measuring our value by the things we can't keep. Let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed how heavy it feels to constantly protect what you think defines you? Your image, your success, your stuff? It's exhausting, like carrying a backpack full of bricks you never needed. But what if your value was never in those things to begin with? What if it was always in your presence, your compassion, your ability to stay grounded even when life shifts? Because it always will shift. Everything we cling to, status, wealth, approval, is temporary by nature. And when we base our peace on temporary things, anxiety becomes inevitable. The fear of loss isn't a flaw in us. It's a misunderstanding. It's the belief that who we are is what we have. But when we begin to let go of that belief, when we stop identifying so deeply with what's outside of us, we discover something quietly extraordinary. We don't lose ourselves when we let go. We find ourselves. So the next time you feel that wave of fear rise up, the panic of, what if I lose this? Try asking instead, who would I be without it? Would I still be whole? And the deeper answer, beneath all the noise, is yes. Yes, you are still whole, even when things fall away. Especially then. Because peace was never found in what you could hold. It was always waiting, in your willingness to let go. Part 4. When clinging hurts the ones we love and ourselves. Let's take a quiet breath together and gently ask ourselves a hard question. Has love ever made you feel trapped? Or maybe have you ever made someone else feel that way without meaning to? It's not something we like to admit, because most of us cling not out of malice, but out of love. We hold tightly to the people we care about because we want to protect them, because we're afraid to lose them. But sometimes, the more we hold on, the more things fall apart. Imagine a parent who loves their child deeply. They want the best for them, want to keep them safe. So they hover, they micromanage, they correct every choice, question every decision, set rules for everything, even down to the way the child dresses or dreams. And slowly, the space between love and control begins to blur. The child doesn't feel nurtured, they feel suffocated. Not because their parent didn't care, but because that care came with a grip. Now imagine a relationship between two partners. In the beginning, it feels light, free, exciting. But over time, one partner becomes afraid of abandonment, of rejection. So they start asking for more reassurance, more check-ins, more control. And slowly, love turns into possession. Connection turns into tension, and distance grows where closeness used to live. It's one of life's great paradoxes. The more we cling to love, the more we risk choking it. But this isn't just about how we treat others, it's also about how we treat ourselves. Think of someone who once experienced success. Maybe they led a team, launched a business, inspired others. But now they feel stuck, afraid to try something new, afraid to change, afraid to fail. Why? Because they're clinging to the image of who they used to be. To grow would mean becoming a beginner again. To stretch would mean risking imperfection. And so they stay still, frozen by the very identity that once empowered them. Or think of someone who's always been seen as the strong one. They're the one others depend on. They're used to being the rock, the calm in the storm. So what happens when they feel overwhelmed, or broken, or lost? They hide it. They swallow their pain. Because clinging to the image of being strong leaves no room for being human. And that's the danger of clinging to identity. We build these walls around who we think we're supposed to be, and then we forget how to breathe inside them. But here's the truth. Love doesn't need a cage, and strength doesn't mean never bending. Real love gives space to grow. Real strength includes the courage to be vulnerable, to be uncertain, to begin again. The Buddha taught that clinging, whether to things, people, or ideas, is the root of suffering. Not because love is wrong, but because trying to possess what is always changing sets us up for pain. And identity, it's not something we own, it's something we live through, something that evolves, softens, and deepens if we let it. So maybe the invitation is this: to love without gripping, to guide without controlling, to evolve without fear. What would it look like to love your child not as a reflection of you, but as a being all their own? To support them without molding them? What would it feel like to release the need to be seen a certain way and just allow yourself to be real? Not perfect, not polished, just present. There's a quiet kind of peace in letting go of the performance, a deeper kind of connection that happens when you stop needing to be someone and instead just become available to the moment. So the next time you feel the urge to tighten your grip on a person, on a role, on an old version of yourself, pause and ask gently, is this helping me grow, or is it keeping me small? Is this love, or is it fear dressed up like love? You'll know the difference, not in your mind, but in your breath, in the way your shoulders soften when you allow life to be what it is. We don't lose our power when we let go of control. We gain something far greater: clarity, freedom, and a love that no longer needs to prove itself. Part 5. Letting go is not losing. It's how we walk lightly through life. Take a deep breath with me. Now imagine you're walking through a dense forest, carrying a heavy backpack. At first, it feels manageable, but with each step, the weight grows more noticeable. You adjust your shoulders, you shift your balance, but no matter what you do, it's there, pressing into you, draining your energy, slowing you down. You keep telling yourself, I need this bag, I chose to carry it, I can't let it go. But eventually, you come to a quiet clearing, and for just a moment, you pause. You take off the backpack and set it down. And in that moment, you feel weightless. The world hasn't changed, but everything feels lighter, brighter, freer. That's what letting go can feel like. Not a loss, not a sacrifice, but a return to spaciousness. We often carry more than we need, physically, emotionally, mentally. Old regrets, unresolved expectations, identities that no longer fit. We carry fear, pride, guilt, even love, but with clenched fists. And we wonder why we feel so tired. Letting go isn't about giving up. It's not about rejecting life or turning away from love. It's about how we relate to what we carry. The French philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre once said something that has always stayed with me. We often mistake our possessions for our identity. We begin to believe we are what we own. A house becomes not just a home, but a reflection of our worth. A car isn't just a vehicle, but a symbol of success. Even relationships, photos, clothes, things we once loved for how they made us feel, become tangled in the idea of, this is who I am. And when we build our identity on these things, what happens when they change or disappear? We begin to crack, because what we thought was me was never solid to begin with. This is why the Buddhist path encourages us to look deeply at attachment, not to judge ourselves for it, but to understand it. Clinging doesn't come from evil or greed. It comes from fear. The fear of being nothing without what we hold. But here's the quiet truth. You were never the bag. You were never the weight. You've always been the one who could set it down. So what does it look like in everyday life to let go? It might be as simple as allowing a loved one to make their own mistakes without stepping in to control. It might be walking away from a job title that once gave you pride, but now brings no joy. It might be telling yourself, I can love without needing to possess. I can care without trying to control. That shift from ownership to presence is where freedom begins. It's like holding water in your hands. Try to grip it tightly and it slips through your fingers. Hold it gently and it rests in your palms. The same is true with life, with people, with everything we think we must have to be whole. Letting go doesn't mean we stop loving. In fact, it allows us to love more purely, without expectation, without fear, without demand. It gives us room to breathe, and it gives others that same space, to grow, to change, to be who they are without needing to meet the shape of our grip. So I invite you to reflect on this. What have you been carrying that no longer serves you? What version of yourself or of someone else have you been holding on to out of habit, not truth? You don't need to drop everything all at once. Just notice. Notice the weight. Notice the effort it takes to keep holding. And when the time feels right, breathe and set one thing down, even for a moment. Not because it's bad, not because you're giving up, but because freedom begins the moment we stop confusing love with possession and start trusting life enough to open our hands. The path doesn't ask us to walk empty-handed, only to walk lightly, so we don't miss the beauty around us, the forest, the breeze, the way sunlight dances on the path, because we were too busy clinging to a burden we didn't need to carry anymore. Part 6. Practicing Impermanence, the gentle art of letting go. Let's pause, just for a moment. Take a slow breath in. And as you exhale, Let something go. Maybe a thought, a tension, a small worry. Letting go doesn't always begin with a grand gesture. Often, it begins with a simple awareness. I want to share with you a story. A wealthy merchant once visited the Buddha. He looked successful by every standard, dressed in fine clothes, adorned with jewels, respected in his city. But his eyes revealed something different: fear. "I can't sleep," the merchant confessed. "I live in constant worry. What if I lose my fortune? What if someone takes it from me? I don't enjoy what I have because I'm always afraid it will disappear." The Buddha looked at him with gentle compassion and said, "Then let go of the thought that it belongs to you." The merchant was confused. He thought the Buddha meant to give up his wealth, but the teaching was much deeper. It wasn't about renouncing the world, it was about renouncing the illusion of possession. Because fear begins not with what we have, but with the belief that it must stay with us. What would happen if we loosened that belief? Not just with money or objects, but with everything. With our relationships, with our roles, even with who we think we are. When we believe we own something, be it a house, a partner, or even a personality trait like "I'm always strong" or "I'm the responsible one," we start building our sense of self around it. But the truth is, everything we cling to is changing. Just like a river, our thoughts, emotions, and identities are always moving. You're not the same person you were 5 years ago. You're not even the exact same person you were this morning. And that's not a loss, that's life. When we realize that, something inside begins to soften. We no longer need to control every outcome. We no longer need to fix or possess what's constantly flowing. And in that softening, something beautiful happens. We become more present. When we let go of the fear of loss, our relationships deepen. We start to love not because someone belongs to us, but simply because we are with them, right here, right now. We stop measuring our worth by what we achieve or accumulate, and start finding meaning in how we show up, kindly, openly, honestly. So, how do we begin? Not by giving everything away or changing our whole lives overnight, but by practicing a simple reminder. The next time you pick up your phone, the next time you sit in your favorite chair, the next time you look at someone you love, quietly whisper to yourself, "This does not belong to me." Not as a way to detach coldly, but as a gentle invitation to hold things more lightly. To remember that life is not about ownership, but connection. That everything we touch is passing through our hands, and we can either squeeze it in fear or receive it in gratitude. The more we practice this awareness, the more peaceful the mind becomes. We start to see, that argument we had, it passed. That wave of sadness, it softened. That joyful moment, it came and it went. Just like the breath. Inhale, exhale, rising and falling, here and gone. This isn't a reason to feel sad. It's an invitation to wake up, to really be here. Because when we stop clinging, we start seeing. And when we start seeing, we begin living, not from fear, but from love. You don't have to force this. It's not about perfection. It's about remembering, moment by moment, that everything you experience is a guest, a visitor passing through the home of your awareness. And the more gently you receive those visitors, without trying to keep them, the more peace you'll find in their coming and going. So, today, I invite you to try the practice. This does not belong to me. Say it softly, say it often. Let it guide your heart towards stillness. Because letting go isn't about rejecting the world. It's about walking through it lightly, with open hands and an open heart. The gift of letting go. Let's take one last gentle breath together. And as you breathe out, imagine releasing something you've been carrying, an expectation, a memory, a worry you no longer need. We spend our lives building identities from the things we gather. We say, "This is my house, my career, my partner, my story." And slowly, we weave these threads into a sense of self. But the truth we all come to face, whether gently or through loss, is this: everything we hold will one day let go of us. The people we love, the body we live in, the things we own, none of it is permanent. None of it can follow us forever. That might sound sad at first, but what if it's not? What if impermanence isn't a tragedy, but a doorway into a freer kind of life? Think of it this way: we're not owners, we're guests. Everything we experience is something we borrow for a little while. Like someone renting a beautiful home, you might decorate it, cherish it, feel safe within its walls. But deep down, you know it's not yours to keep. And that knowing doesn't have to bring fear. It can bring gratitude. Because when we understand that nothing lasts forever, we begin to love more deeply, not less. We stop clinging and start appreciating. We stop chasing and start noticing. The Buddhist path is not a path of giving up on life. It's a path of embracing life without fear. Letting go doesn't mean you care less. It means you care without grasping. It means you show up fully, love fully, live fully, but with open hands, not clenched fists. And that's the subtle miracle of Buông Xả, the practice of releasing. The Buddha often taught the power of dana, or generosity. But it wasn't just about giving money or material things. It was about training the mind to let go. Every time we give, whether it's our time, our attention, a kind word, or simply the need to be right, we loosen the grip of ego. We soften the habit of clinging. And in that softening, there's a kind of joy, a lightness, a space where peace can finally enter. Letting go is not a loss. It's the release of what never truly belonged to us. It's the freedom of not having to carry what we no longer need. It's like putting down a heavy bag you forgot you were holding. So maybe the real question isn't, what do I need to keep holding on to? But rather, what would it feel like to walk through life a little lighter? To stop defining ourselves by what we own or control, and instead define ourselves by how openly we love, how gently we live, and how fully we show up. You are not your possessions. You are not your status. You are not even the story you've told yourself again and again. You are presence. You are awareness. You are here, right now, breathing, witnessing, alive. And that's more than enough. So as we end this journey together, I invite you to carry one small practice with you. Whenever you're feeling overwhelmed or afraid to lose something, pause and softly remind yourself, this does not belong to me, and that's okay. Not as a way to push life away, but as a way to welcome it in with less fear and more grace. Letting go doesn't empty your life. It clears the space for what matters most. And in that space, you just might discover the quiet, unshakable peace you've been searching for all along. Thank you for walking this path with me. If this message spoke to your heart, consider subscribing to the channel, not out of obligation, but because reminders like this are easy to forget, and we all need to be brought back to stillness sometimes. Until next time, take care, walk gently, and hold everything with love, but never too tightly.